Hello, welcome to Lightcast webinars. We're excited today to be joined by Richard Hewitt, who is Lightcast Director for UK Higher Education. During the course of the presentation, if you have any questions, please put them in the question box on your control panel, and we will endeavour to get back to those at the end of the presentation. We will be sharing the slides and recording from today's webinar after the presentation finishes in a follow-up email, so please keep your eye open for that. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Richard. Hi, Richard.
Hi, thank you, Debbie, and hello everyone. Good afternoon, and thanks for coming along today to this webinar, where I'll be taking you through some online tools you can use to report on labour market and skills data. Before I get started on that, there are quite a substantial number of you who haven't previously worked with us before, so I'll just give a quick introduction to Lightcast. Now, it is possible you may have come across companies like MZ, or perhaps Burning Glass Technologies, or maybe even MZ Burning Glass in the past. In fact, we are all of those labour market data companies, and following our merger last year, we've rebranded as Lightcast. So we are purveyors of data insights that describe the labour market. And of course, LMI isn't a single data set. So we bring together a huge range of data, from structural economic data derived from official statistics, which we then enrich with additional metrics and added granularity, to big data from online job postings that we scrape from tens of thousands of job boards and company websites. We deduplicate those and analyze those many millions of job advertisements to glean insights about all sorts of things like skills, employers, roles, locations, and so on. We also have profiles data, which is a bit like CV data, and it gives the mirror view from employer demand. So that's the worker supply. And we treat that in the same way as we do our job postings, so the data can be put side by side. We then make that data easily accessible and consumable for our partners through online software tools, APIs, direct database access, consulting projects, and so on. So that's us, but to the task at hand. So there was a time when I needed to spend quite a lot of time with universities talking about the usefulness of having data to inform decisions. I am quite pleased to say, though, it's been a good few years now since the last kind of conversation like that, and there seems to be a general consensus now that data is indeed necessary to make objective, well-informed decisions that help a university and its students be successful. Of course, it's not the only thing that's needed to make good decisions, and qualitative information and relationships, all of those things are still important, but data is a fundamental part of building up that picture. And of course, universities have the most experience with their own internal data, HESA data, UCAS data, and so on. However, being able to answer the question, is there employer demand for this course, is now usually somewhere on the agenda in portfolio planning and course review activities, of course driven by the policy agenda that we see, and a change in structure to the way the sector now works. But those data sets that universities are used to dealing with don't really tackle that question around employer demand particularly effectively. So what are the questions you might be trying to answer with labour market and skills data in your team? And just obviously you'll have your own reflections on that, but perhaps you're familiar with having to tackle some of these questions. So first one, I've said, what evidence is there of employer demand for this course, but also what skills are in demand? Are we developing the skills that employers need? Where are the opportunities in the labour market? What are the outcomes, risks in our current portfolio? How might we contextualize our GOS data against the totality of the labour market opportunity? Because of course, GOS is just talking about where the students go. You don't know what proportion of the rest of the labour market that represents. So certainly I imagine you'll be familiar with the challenges of responding to questions like those. So reflecting on that, some of those challenges might include things like, well, there's no single data set. I said right at the beginning, LMI isn't a single data set, and there isn't a single data set that can answer those questions. When we look at government data, of course, it's backwards looking, and there tends to be quite a long lag with that as well. The publicly available data, it's quite difficult to interpret, particularly when you're trying to interpret it from an educational standpoint, and it requires quite a bit of work on your part to derive insights which you can actually then take some action on. Of course, there are always consultancies, but consultancy reports, they tend to be expensive, and once they're written, they go out of date. You know, they might be valid for 3-6 months, but then something like the labour market changes, and so that can be problematic. You need to repeat that exercise. If you think about reports you might have commissioned, when was the last time they were updated? Is it cost effective to keep updating them all the time to reflect the changes in the data? So that kind of challenge. And of course, you know, that leads on to the question of budgets. You know, budgets for having the resource in your team to draw up these reports, having the financial resources to pay consultants each time, or to buy in the data. You know, of course everyone is stretched. So what we've done and tried to do is to respond to those challenges that we've been hearing from the sector by creating a new suite of reports. Our existing clients, and I know we have quite a number of you on the call today, so hello everyone. You will already have access to these in the higher education module in the analyst platform. And you hopefully will have noticed these new reports appearing quite recently and being updated as we've finessed them. Unlike the full Lightcast analyst platform, these reports that we have in Subject Insight, they're not designed for powerful analytics, for that ability to really dig down into the data and really explore the reasons why things might be happening. For that, you can do that, but you need to have access to analysts and all of the reporting within that. Subject Insight is designed to quickly get you a summary of the most relevant LMI and skills data for a subject area easily and in a format that you can share and people can understand. So rather than spending hours on researching insight for every LMI request, you can have a report ready to go literally in a couple of minutes. Not only that, the reports update as the data updates, so that gives you a consistent approach you can use across the board over time that doesn't go out of date like consultancy reports do, or indeed your own one-off kind of research projects would do. So let's have a look at what we have. So this is the dashboard. It's online software, so you go to the website, log in, and it's where you can access the 3 key reports that we have in Subject Insight. So we have the higher education overview, which brings together a range of data relevant to the subject areas you're investigating. Employability Outlook, which brings an industry lens as well as a view on under or oversupply of new talent into the market. And we've got the education pipeline, which takes a reverse look at the data, identifying which subject areas are likely to feed into an occupation you're researching and the pipeline of graduates stemming from those. So I'm going to take you through each of these reports, and let's begin with the HE overview. So one of the critical challenges university market insight teams in particular face when working with LMI is to work out how to connect it to courses, because that fundamentally impacts where to begin with your analysis. So we've tried to simplify that. We're not asking you to think about the LMI to begin with. All you need to know is the subject area that you're investigating. So as you can see, the subject areas, they're all available as HESA CAR codes, and we've mapped each of those to relevant occupations. So we've got them down to Common Aggregation Hierarchy Level 3, which hopefully gives you a simple route into the data. And so you type the name or the code or select from the browse function to run your report. In terms of the geography, the data is available at standard region level. So regions like the Southwest or Northern Ireland, London, those are the kind of standard way that the ONS categorizes regions. And for Subject Insight subscribers, you can choose to have access to up to 2 regions, but also national data is available as well. So let's run a report, and I'm going to be using as the example here the subject area psychology, and I'll look in the northeast. So this is what the report looks like. On the left, you can see the filters available if you want to modify the report. It begins with a summary of structural economic data, i.e. the data derived from ONS data sets, and it's shown by 4-digit SOC codes, so those occupations which we've mapped to the subject area. Depending on the time frame you've selected, the first column in the table here quantifies the number of actual jobs. I suppose it's the second column, but it quantifies the number of actual jobs in the market. So not the vacancies, but the actual number of people employed in the region by each of these relevant occupations. So if you've chosen to look at a time frame that extends into the future, then the figures for those future years are derived from trend-based projections. So it's quite a robust way to consider what the future might look like, is just look to historically what has happened. The second column along from that is the annual openings, which shows how many new jobs on average are projected to be created each year. So these are like added jobs into that occupation. Then we have wage and growth data, which are self-explanatory, and then that's followed by location quotient. Now that's a measure of the concentration of these jobs in the region relative to the national average. So if national average is a measure of 1, so anything really over 1.2 or so is significant. There's a concentration of those types of jobs in your region. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you who know their SOC codes may have spotted that educational support assistance at the top of the list isn't in fact categorized by the powers that be as a graduate level job. But we've included it because it's vocationally relevant. Of course, though, that might not be the criteria that you want to apply. So the mappings here, they can all be amended. If you want to add occupations or remove occupations, then that's possible, and I'll show you quickly how that's done later. The next packets of data in the report give an overview of the potential supply of new talent into those occupations in the region, and that uses HESA student data. So we can see the award profile and regional trends. Obviously, we know that you have all of that kind of data already. You have access to HESA data tools, but we thought it would make your lives easier to summarize some of that data connected to the LMI in one place. If jobs are declining in these occupations, but qualifiers in related subject areas are increasing, surely there are implications for that, and we'll come back to that idea as well later on. Next, we have skills, and so we're moving beyond what we saw with the structural data, where, okay, we can think about high skills and medium skill type jobs by those SOC categories. But actually, we have in the big data from online job postings, the ability to look at actual discrete skills insights. So this is the aggregated demand for skills across the occupations that are mapped to the subject area. So the most in-demand skills. And we separate those into specialized skills or hard skills, as seen here, and common skills, which include all of those highly transferable skills and soft or human skills. Next, we summarize the sample size for the big data from online job postings. You're going to be challenged, no doubt, on, okay, well, what's the sample size for this, etc. So we make sure you've got that data. And then we move to the job titles that we see being recruited. So we're going, we're getting beneath those broad occupational descriptions that we saw with the structural data to understand actually the type of jobs that employers in your region are recruiting to. Next, we can see which companies have been actively hiring these roles, and also whether there are particular professional certifications that they might be asking for when they're advertising as well. Finally, we can see some of the other subject areas which have overlapping mapping to one or more of the occupations mapped to this subject area. So it gives you a perspective on the competing talent supply into these areas of the labour market, and these are ranked by the number of qualifiers in the region. So it's another lens through which to kind of think about competing talent for new talent for those jobs. So that was the higher education overview. So let's quickly dive into the other two reports. So first, Employability Outlook. Now, as well as a summary of the occupational data, Employability Outlook allows you to explore which industry sectors in your region employ those occupations which are relevant to the subject area you're investigating. So to describe those industries, we're using the standard SIC taxonomy that the ONS uses, and you can toggle between the different levels of the hierarchy to dig down into that sector view. So it might be, you know, if you're in England and you partner with your local enterprise partnership, they might be talking to you in terms of SIC codes at level 2. And so this enables you to see the relevance of subject areas to what they're interested in, and you're able to then make that connection between the subject data, the subjects that you're providing, and the industries that they're interested in. So we've got some the metrics there. Employability Outlook also provides a handy chart that compares the number of new jobs being created in the occupations you're investigating, so that openings metric, against the number of student qualifiers in the region for the subject area. So this is an approach our economists often use to inform an analysis of under or oversupply of new workers into their local labour market. And we can see in this example, so it's the same, it's that we're looking at before, psychologists so psychology subject area in the northeast, and we can see this crossover last year happening where there are more people entering this talent space than there are new jobs being created. So potentially this could create oversupply. Now, it doesn't mean they're all going to be unemployed, because of course there could be adjacent employment they could look at, they could go to other places around, but they also, you got to think there could be people from out who have studied elsewhere. Maybe they've studied in London, but they want to return to Sunderland, for example, to work, and so they will be competition as well. So things like that, and this gives you a baseline to have a think about how tight and how competitive is the labour market likely to be for new graduates who want to go into those vocationally related roles. The final report is the education pipeline, which, unlike the other two, doesn't really start with a subject area. It begins with an occupation. So this is what you might use when you have a specific part of the labour market in mind. So you might have read that perhaps a new company is investing in the area, or there's a new business park opening which will attract a certain sector, and so they're not recruiting yet, they haven't employed people yet, so there isn't data about it, but you've got that qualitative insight, and so you can use this to understand where the talent might be drawn from. So here I've taken a look at the broad occupation family of architects, town planners and surveyors, and I can see in the northeast the potential supply of workers into those types of jobs by the number of qualifiers in the region. So clearly, if you see that the most relevant subject areas don't have many qualifiers, so they're not the top ranked potential supply into the region, then you might consider that those graduates are going to be more competitive in the labour market for those kinds of roles. Now, I mentioned earlier that those inbuilt mappings can be amended. So let me quickly show you that as well. So you can access all of the mappings from the menus, and you can edit them very easily and just add or remove occupations as you see fit, and your amendments will be changed, or you can follow what other people have amended, and this functionality is often used where one colleague may be focused on undergraduate reports, another on postgraduate or executive education. So the way that the lens through which you might be understanding these would be different. So for example, in our mappings, while we will include, as you can see here, like with dental nurses, some relevant but non-professional occupations that we see there. We also, because they're relevant destinations, but we don't include those managerial and director roles, because for the bulk of students at universities, those are not likely immediate destinations. You know, go straight from your undergraduate degree into a managerial position. So we haven't included those in the mappings. But if you're someone who's running reports on like an MBA or executive education courses, then you might want to look at those SOC 1 category managerial director type roles. So that it's useful for you to be able to own that and be able to manage it. And of course, you may simply disagree with our mappings, and that's fine, and you can edit them, amend them as you see fit. So the other thing you can do is create groups of courses. So you can aggregate the subject areas according to how your institution structures its programs. So once those are saved, you can search by those groups rather than have to recreate them each time. So that's another useful feature that we found helps people move things along. And if you're an existing analyst subscriber, you will have noticed, I hope, in your groups menu at the top of the system, that's where you can find course to occupations and course groups for you to amend. And really, that's essentially it. I mean, the reports, they're very easy to generate. You just need to know your subject area, really. That's the key thing you need to have as a starting point. And then you can export full or partial reports, so you can remove bits of the report that are not relevant to your internal client, your stakeholders. So you can decide which elements of the report you want to share. You can export them into PDF, Word, or Excel. You can download the charts as images. The reports can all be saved and shared with other people who use the system. And there's also an intercom system as well, so the instant chat messenger system, so you can ping us a message. We have a specialist HE client support team who will be at the end of that. So if you get stuck for whatever reason or just need to check your interpretation of something, then we are there at the end of the line to help you with that. So for a summary of basically everything I've been talking about, but also the commercials and to get yourself a subscription, everything you need is on the link here, and I'll have a go at seeing if I can put that into the chat for you. Yeah, there we go, send that to everyone. So hopefully you've all got that now. So that is all there. There's a short video on there as well, just running through the report, so you can see what that looks like. But are there, and certainly if you do have questions, got my email there, do reach out to me directly. But I don't know if there have been any questions that have come through. If anyone has any questions now, can put them into the question box.
You obviously did a good job, Richard, because we have no questions at the moment.
Give you a few seconds to type furiously if there is a question, but hopefully this has been helpful for existing users of Analyst who have access to all of this. And if you don't think you have access, do get in touch with Joe, your account manager, because he'll make sure that that's sorted out. But you should have access to that, and it's hopefully giving you some thought as to how you might put it to more use. Of course, you can come at the data in more ways if you have the full Analyst platform, and it's you get right down into the local data. You can start you don't have to start from a subject area, you can start from a skill, and you can do all sorts of fun analytics. But if you're a smaller team and you just need to get reporting on LMI and get started with this kind of data, then this is a straightforward solution to help you get that moving. And I can see we have a question from so is the Subject Insight module available separately from Analyst? Yes, it is. It can be made available separately. It is far less powerful than the rest of Analyst, but we've structured things to account for that as well. So yes, it is the answer. However, it is included with Analyst if you're an Analyst subscriber, a university Analyst subscriber. I should caveat that with. So I think that was the only question, and as we're at past, I will bring it to a close. But please do reach out if you have questions or you need more information, and I certainly hope this was useful and hope to hear from you. Thank you very much.